think the athlete of today faces a lot of questions, and they deal with a lot of different situations. They deal with the academic side of things. They deal with the relational side of things. They deal with the coaching side of things and the competing and the competition and all that. So I think they need to have somebody, because they all have issues and they all have some sorts of problems that they have to deal with, whatever those might be, and to have somebody that they can feel comfortable with to listen to, that will listen to them, can provide them with some advice that is not, you're not going to have that in that coaching arena between the player and the coach because of the authority that's there and those sorts of things. So to have a Chris Morgan, to have a Tammy Morgan involved in FCA here at the University of Louisville is one of the greatest things that's ever happened for our athletes.
When I first met Chris, you know what I'm saying, I hadn't met him, and then he was just like somebody you can just like be there for you. Like if you didn't know like who to talk to, and you wanted somebody you can just like tell something to. I was coming home already for spring break. So when I got home, I think probably my grandma called me. She's like, your mom in the hospital, had a stroke. I'm like, man. So I had to go to the hospital. It was like a big stroke, like she couldn't move, talk, paralyzed, lost weight, like all that. So I thought it was kind of like the end. I just didn't really know what to do. Like my mom was all I had. So when she had the stroke, I was like, man, until my best friend had died already. So I'm like, my mom had the stroke, now I can't lose her either. I ain't gonna know what to do. So I just went to Chris and like, man, I can't think, I can't focus. Like, you know, I was going through it with my girl. So like, it was affecting me everywhere, like on the field and in the classroom. And I just needed to like get off my chest so I can just like know everything gonna be okay. And now I got somebody that got my back.
Jermaine pulls me off to the side as we're walking down the hallway and said, I really need to talk with you. So I went into the room and sat down, and I said, how's things going? And I remember him just looking at me. He dropped his head and he started to cry. The complete opposite what you would think from the defensive lineman on a football team. So he starts crying, he's talking, and he's opening up about his mom, his relationship with his mom, that his mom is really, really sick. He didn't know how to handle it. And, you know, I immediately right then just prayed for his mom. He and I both just prayed. And I remember him just opening up and sharing a little bit about his story. And he talked about having to be the father in his family as a freshman in college, having to be the leader of your home.
Because I was feeling like it was just me against the world, so I told him, and then like, I told him he could tell my coaches, so he told my coaches, and they knew why I was like being why I was, so then it didn't make it seem like I was just like slacking and all that. Like, I really had a lot on my mind.
As his mom started to get a little better, I remember telling Jermaine, hey, if you want me to call your mom, I would love to talk to your mom. And he said, well, you know, she can't talk right now. And I said, well, what I can do is I can call your sister. Your sister can put the phone to your mom's ear, and at least what you can do is hear. And I remember calling his sister. She puts the phone to Jermaine's mom, and I just start to pray. I've never met her. I started to pray for her. And when I was finished, his sister grabs the phone, and she started crying, and she said, you've made my mom smile. That little bit, not only did it bless my life for being able to pray, but it blesses that, and it gives that family a little bit of hope. But what that instantaneously did to mine and Jermaine's friendship, it took off. Jermaine comes in my office, not only just to tell me what's bad, but to tell me what's good. We're able to share somewhat of life together, and he's become a dear friend.
My teammates, they don't really open up to each other unless you're really close to them. You know, they don't really open up to the coaches because they don't want to be judged. But Chris is somebody you can confide in, and he's not gonna give you nothing false. He's gonna tell you straight.
He doesn't really sugarcoat much stuff, and he'll look you in your eyes and tell you if he thinks something's working out good for you, if he thinks what you're doing's wrong. You know, he's not afraid to call you out, and that's something that's huge for me. Is he's kind of like a guy there to keep me accountable for myself for things, which I've gone to him for stuff and told him, like, look, I need you to help me out here, keep me accountable. And he just looked me in the eye and said, all right, you got it.
They know that he's their team chaplain, but he also have a relationship where he can step outside of being their team chaplain and just be their friend. And that's what you look for, where they can just step outside of it. And he's played the game, he understands the game, and just, he opens up his heart to them. Whatever he have, they have.
I think all it takes is for him to do something for you one time, and you realize like how real this guy is. You know, he'll drop anything and to meet you where you're at and just love you where you're at.
A little text message every now and then to see how you're doing, send a Bible scripture, you know, when you're going through rough times. That's really important, just because, you know, in college life, you know, you can go down so many different roads. You can, you know, get caught up in women, you can get caught up in drugs, partying, and, you know, for Chris to be here, for him to, you know, continue to influence us and continue to help us is really a blessing, just because, you know, we can easily go down the wrong way.
Chris Morgan is more than a blessing. He's a person that God sent to me to like encourage me, to be my backbone. Like when things bad, he'll be by my side. When things good, he'll be by my side. And as time went on, I was a person I could really trust in. Like he got my back just like I got his back. I never felt like I would let out my feelings towards, not trying to be racist or not, towards a white man. I never feel like I just go in deep inside my heart and let him know things I'm going through in my everyday life and things I'm struggling with, not only good but the bad things. And he just helped me, just set me down, and we share the little things amongst each other. He gonna keep to himself and I keep to myself, and things like that just let me know that he's a person that gonna be there for me.
It's amazing to see how many individual people's lives have changed, and I think even probably he doesn't know the whole extent of it.
FCA had a baptism ceremony here at the Ralph Wright Natatorium, and I was here when this pool was being built, and we had visions of a lot of things that were going to happen at this pool, but that was not one of them at the time. So it's a Monday night, and we have open swim here. The place is packed. We have age group swimming, we have high school swimming. The night's about to end here, and a number of student athletes are filing in. And everybody's wondering, what is this about? What is going on here? What kind of function's going on? Is that a competition of some sort? On a 9 p.m. on a Monday night, and before you know, a number of student athletes are lined up waiting to be baptized. And what a beautiful sight. And really, I think it was a little bit surreal. Everybody was kind of just looking around, is this really going to happen? Even some of our swimmers who used to be here every day, and all of a sudden the pool means something a little bit different this time.
No one in my family believes in God. We weren't raised that way. I was by no means a bad kid. I was class president and captain of 3 sports, but in the meantime I was just miserable inside, and I was doing anything I could to feel something, and that included being very promiscuous. I experimented with alcohol, with some drugs, and then I'd wake up and go to school and do the class announcements and be ranked number 1 in the state for track, and it was just kind of a double life, and I guess kind of on the outside of it all, just didn't feel anything. I guess over the course of my senior year, my relationship with God developed, and I kind of got away from the promiscuity, and I kind of got rid of some friends that were not the best for me, and my life kind of started to change. And then I came to school at U of L, and I think a lot of people go through kind of their first year in college and they do the party scene, and I definitely did that, and drank every weekend, and I just didn't really, the relationship with God kind of disappeared. I believed in him, and at this point I would have called myself a Christian. Even my sophomore year I started going to FCA, and it wasn't until the beginning of that year, all my friends had turned 21 and I wasn't, and my boyfriend turned 21, and they were out, and I was home alone every weekend. And then track wasn't going very well for the first time in my life. My family moved away from home, so I was really far away from everyone in my family, and it was God took every single idol that I had and he stripped it away from me that semester. I got to the point where I had nothing, and I got to the point where I was on my knees and crying out to God in tears, and it was I don't know what to do. I'm flat on my face. I don't think I can be lower. And it's God, I need you. I've been trying to do it on my own, and it wasn't working. And we started doing the Song of Solomon study in FCA, and I was going through that, and it was this is what love is like. This is what love's supposed to look like. And my whole life, I wasn't letting myself do that. I didn't think I deserved to be loved. I was looking for a replacement father figure, some sort of male companionship love, but it didn't look like biblical love. And I guess I didn't believe that God loved me the way he promised he did. And that was a major turning point for me, was that study.
One of the neat things that's happened with Megan is not only just seeing her come to know that Jesus Christ wants to be the centermost priority in her life, it's been a joy to watch her grow in her discipleship. One of the things that she's been part of is Tammy, my wife's small group. It's been for the past 2 years that Tammy will have a group of girls over to the house and they will go through books in the Bible. Megan's been part of that from day one.
Definitely Chris and Tammy have been a big part of my journey. Tammy's Bible study was a big turning point for me. And, Chris's job title is chaplain, and that's his job. But like most people, he doesn't work 9 to 5. Like, this is his life, is serving us. And there have been times, day or night, where I couldn't call him or Tammy. And it's, especially in the early years when I didn't really know Christian adults, and they were my Christian role models. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can you explain this Bible verse to me? Just anything. And they were always there. I mean, they've been a huge, huge part of my journey.
Well, anybody that has grown up in Louisville, Kentucky, and is a football fan has heard the name Victor Anderson. And when Vic came here, Vic is probably the most respected young man I have ever been around in my dealings with college athletics. Here's a man that has wore a tie to school every day in high school. He's come here, he's going to graduate, face of the program, but he can throw any card that he wants out. I mean, if I have a bad day, a lot of times we show that. Vic has had hell go on in his life, and he's able to have a straight face.
Growing up, I had it tough. Grew up in a rough neighborhood. There was days we didn't have lights, we didn't have food, and when I was younger, I wasn't in school yet. My sister was in school. My mom would send me to school with my sister so that I can eat breakfast. And coming home after that, it was like, where am I gonna get my next meal? And my sister came home, and we were struggling. My mother was on drugs when we were younger, and she was in and out of the house every day, all day. And then I eventually moved in with my father. My dad, he actually sold drugs, so I saw both worlds, the drug addict and the drug dealer. After my grandmother passed, we moved into her house with one of my uncles, and when we did that, I'm going home to a house with no heat, no lights, no TV. So I'm trying to stay out as late as possible, on the streets to try to, delete that from my life. And my dad and I eventually was kicked out of my grandmother's house. And then we were homeless there for a little bit in high school. When I first got to college, I really never had money. But when you get a scholarship, you get, stipends and Pell Grants and stuff like that. There was a few times I went to my mother's house, and I have 5 little brothers and sisters. Their lights was out, and I did not want them to live or grow up the way I grew up. So I gave the money to my mother so that she can turn on the lights, or she can pay the bills, buy them food, because most of my twin sisters, their dad passed away, and then my other brother and sister, their dad was in penitentiary, and then my other little brother, his dad was in the penitentiary. So there was nobody there to provide. She knew that I was getting money, and she would always call to get the money from me. But, and I was giving it to her and giving it to her and giving it to her, and that caused stress coming onto the football field and in the classroom. And I felt like I was being betrayed, I was being used from my own mother. I was grateful she was off drugs, but I felt like this was another habit that she was addicted to, calling me and asking me for money because she knows I won't say no.
A lot of people feel like it's pressure to walk out of that locker room and come into the stadium and play in front of 55,000 people, and they think, man, what pressure? That's really not pressure. Pressure is when a kid like Vic goes home and he's a sophomore, he's a junior in college, and now he is dealing with things that a 38, that a 48, that a 58 man is not dealing with. Football is not pressure, that lifestyle is pressure. Some people just have a bad day because it's Monday. You have no idea what problems are until you deal with some of these issues that these guys are dealing with.
It got to the point where I just broke down, and I was going to counseling, getting help, and I'd even talk to Chris, and he prayed for me and just told me if there's anything I ever needed to call him. So Chris was always in my ear, always on the other side of my text messages, telling me he's here for me. He's got a praying hand for me, him and his family. All that he's done for me, all that he's done for this team, all that he's done for many teams around the campus. Every baseball game I go to, he's in the dugout. Every time I see him around campus, he's talking to an athlete. He's just an example of the man upstairs.
FCA is making a difference. It's making a difference in this campus, no question. It's making a difference in our teams. And it's ultimately making a difference in this community, and I think you're starting to see the effects of that, and I think that's for years to come, we're going to see the effects of that.